So far, we've been working directly with input that people give us, but we haven't been able to do too much with it other than basically echo it out or do some simple math. Now what we're going to look at is conditional statements and loops, what we call control flow, which allows you to do one thing or another thing depending on what people do. So let's start again with our basic HTML document. We're going to make a form for people to enter their age, and we'll say that we're making a page for like a liquor website where you have to be 21 to get in. So we'll make our form name equals F1, enter your age, input type equals text, name equals age, and then input type equals submit, which is not a type that we've used before. What a submit will do is actually send the form data. We don't care too much about that now, but this is a way that we can show that we're basically checking the form input and doing something different depending on what the user says. I have a little CGI set up, a program that will process form input. It's just going to show us what people typed in, that I'm going to put here in the action attribute. You don't actually have to do this, but it's nice to have it in your form. And we'll say method equals post. These are just some kind of standard form things. So what this will do is if we allow the user to continue, they'll go to this reflector.cgi. Otherwise, we'll send them someplace else. So you have input type equals submit, and then on click, we're going to say validate. And that's a function that we're going to write that will check their age to see if they're old enough to proceed to the site. So let's add in a head section. And we're going to make this function validate. First, we want to get their age, so we're going to store that in a variable age. That'll be document.f1.age.value. And then we want to say if they're 21 or older, then they can proceed, otherwise they won't. So let's first do the checking if they're 21 or older. We're going to say if age is greater than or equal to 21. This is called a conditional statement. So you're comparing one thing to another. It will always evaluate to true or false. And in this case, we're saying greater than or equal to. This is a conditional operator, and it does the comparison. We have the if statement here. So that says if the thing in the parentheses is true, then we're going to do what comes in the next set of curly braces. So I'm going to put a comment here. Old enough. Now if their age is not greater than or equal to 21, then we know it must be less than 21. And so we could say if the age is less than 21, but since we know it's the alternative, right? If you're old enough, we're going to do something. We also have this option that says else. Else is what you do if the thing in the parentheses is false. So if it's true, you do the thing in these curly braces. If it's false, you'll do what's in the else. You don't have to have an else. If you don't have an else, you just don't do anything if the condition is false. But in this case, we want to do something, so we'll tell them they are too young. All right, so for now, let's just put in alert. We'll eventually change this, but just to kind of see what's happening. Okay, so they type in their age, they click submit. We're going to validate the form. We'll tell them either they're old enough or not, and then the form should submit. Okay, so I reload this and we can see that there's a problem because my code is showing up here. If I come back, I can see that I forgot to add in the script tag. And again, I let you guys see these mistakes because I figure you're probably making them too, so it's helpful for you to watch me debug. Okay, so that looks better. If I enter my age as 12, it says too young, and the form submits. This reflector, the thing I put in the action, just shows what the user typed in the form. If I go back and say I'm 99 and submit, it says you're old enough, and it goes ahead. But what if we don't want them to proceed if they put in an age that's too young? So let's look at a quick example. If we go to Budweiser, you have to pick your age. So let's say January 1st, 2011. Sorry, you have to be 21 or older to view the site. And when we picked another age that was too young, it says we're going to redirect you in 5 seconds, and they send us to a teen alcohol site, which is pretty cool. They don't let us in to the Budweiser site if our age is too young. So we definitely could do that redirection, but for now, let's just say we don't want to let them proceed. The way the submit button works is that if we do this on click, and we have a function in there, if that function just goes ahead and does its thing, the form will submit. If the function returns true, the form will submit. But if the function returns false, that stops the form from submitting. So what we can do is actually put return true in here if the person's old enough, and return false if they're not. This return false here will stop the form from submitting, so we'll still have the alert, but it won't submit. So let's try that. We'll reload this page. If we put in 13, it says too young. Oh, but it didn't work. So we have to fix one bug, which, thinking about it, I know what it is. So we have our function returning false. Validate here will get replaced with whatever's returned, false. But the on-click needs to return true or false, specifically return false if we don't want it to submit. So what we do here is actually say return whatever the result of validate is. So validate will return false, and then our on-click will return false. That's what stops the submit from actually continuing. So let's try it one more time. We'll go back, reload our form, say 14, it says too young, and it stops, where if we do 77, we get the alert, and it goes ahead. Okay, so this is a way to validate the forms. And knowing that you can do this return true or false in the on-click to stop the form from submitting is a great way to do form validation. So that's an introduction to doing conditional statements, the if and the else. We'll keep doing lots more examples to see what's going on and to get more practice with those.